Meteora. This is the home of Greek Orthodox pilgrimages.
And as he climbed one of the tallest and biggest rocks, he believed here was the best place to have a monastic community because he was as away from people as he could, but also as closer to God as he could get.
We are 920 meters above sea level.
He thought to himself, I am Meteorus, which means I am suspended in the air.
Hey, this is Alina Reddy and welcome to Foreign Influence.
I even had a moment
It was like a line in the sand, and I loved every second of it.
I have to work even harder because now I'm...
To winning The Voice Australia.
When you have more than one culture in your life,
heart and soul into that.
grandiose perspective in your paintings.
We were mostly from migrant families.
Together, we're going to explore.
I guess my father was a food scientist.
When the missiles started coming in, we could just run and hide in the bunker.
If you saw flower,
but they also had mutual admiration.
Hey, Kalimera. This is Alina Reddy. Welcome to Foreign Influence. We are in Greece, in a place which is protected by UNESCO. It is called Meteora. This is the home of Greek Orthodox pilgrimages. It is a very special area because all the monasteries here, and there are 6 of them, are carved into the cliffs. Let's explore the magic of this place.
The monastery of Great Meteora, which is the oldest and the biggest of the monasteries. It was the first monk who decided to build it and came up here. He wasn't a local. He arrived from the peninsula of Mount Athos. When he lived in Mount Athos in the 14th century, pirates used to pillage the monasteries up there, so he wasn't safe. He had heard that some hermits are here in our area. He decided to follow them to be safe. And as he climbed one of the tallest and biggest rocks, he believed here was the best place to have a monastic community because he was as away from people as he could, but also as closer to God as he could get. We call him the first monk, Saint Athanasius the Meteorite. Nothing to do with a meteorite falling from the sky. It was him, though, who gave the name Meteora to the full area. When he arrived here, it was during winter time. Everything was covered with fog. As he went up to one of the highest rocks, Because of the fog, he couldn't see the bases of the rocks. He could see only the tops. He thought to himself, I am Meteorus, which means I am suspended in the air. I'm levitating in the air. During the Second World War, everybody and anybody could get inside the monasteries. They would pillage the monasteries. They will take all the gold they will find, and they will also steal a lot of the books. Because the majority of the books we had those years back, they had this golden book cover. So they wanted the books for the gold. Nowadays, we have, give or take, 70% of the history of Meteora. And that's why we are very thankful for two of our monks that are in the monastery of Varlam, the second one we're going to visit. Their job is to restore and translate those books. So how could the monks build a monastery on top of the rocks in the 14th century? Of course, those years back, they didn't have the technology we have today. So they didn't have a cell phone to scroll on TikTok all day. They will make their mind work. What they would do? They would use white vinegar. White vinegar is acidic to the rock we have here. They will start from the base of the rock. Put the white vinegar, let it sit for a few seconds. That will soften the rock, so they were able to carve it. Inside the holes, they would put pillars, and on the pillars platforms. They would create stairs that they would go from the base till the top of the rock. But actually, one of the first things they would build in every monastery would be a small tower. And from that small tower, they would use a pulley system. It would be a rope with a net at the end. Everything they needed, even people, they would put them in the net, and on the upper side of the monastery, they will have this mechanism in the form of a cross. As they will turn the mechanism, the net will go up or down. That was the original elevator, actually. Yes. And until the 1990s, everybody, even you and me, we could ask the monks to get inside with a net. The thing is, if you ask the monks, when do you change the rope? They will answer you, when it breaks.
We had to pass through these two villages, Kalabaka and Kastrakis, in order to get to the Meteora monasteries. We're about to visit Varlam Monastery. In Meteora, they are not discriminative of what culture you are from, what country you are from, but they're very specific that if you're going to be a monk, you have to be of the Orthodox religion. Varlam was born in Georgia, and he traveled to Greece, and he established this monastery. And he's actually very important in the history of Meteora. Because of him, women were allowed to be part of Meteora. And also another thing to note, the youngest monk resides here right now, and he's at the age of 24.
Now, the monastery of Varlam that you're going to visit next. Second biggest, second oldest monastery. It was a hermit named Varlam that he arrived from the country of Georgia. Unfortunately, when Varlam passed away, the part of the monastery he had built was left abandoned for almost 2 centuries. It started to fall apart. In the 16th century, 2 Greek brothers from a very wealthy family, they decided to donate all their fortune to rebuild the monastery in memory of Varlam, and they became monks inside. Varlam is also the reason that women are allowed today in Meteora. Until 1933, we have the law of avato. That meant no woman was allowed to enter. But at that year, a very big fire happened inside the monastery, and there were only 2 monks. They couldn't put the fire down by themselves. Guess who saved the day? Of course, women. We always save the day. So men, you're welcome that we exist. It was actually the women of the small village of Kastraki we passed. They took one of the trails inside the forest, made a human chain, carried buckets with water, and they helped put on the fire. Since then, of course, women are allowed to enter. Even though it was saved by women, it is still a monastery for men. We have 9 monks that they live inside. And as I told you, our youngest one, the 22-year-old, he's inside Varlam. And at the part of the monastery, you will find a room with a very big barrel. When I say big, I mean half of the bus big. It can fit 12 tons of liquid inside. Of course, the use of that barrel, it was storage for wine. Yes, our monks, they love their wine. They basically drunk all the time. Yes. Well, they do have the Holy Communion twice a day, morning and evening. Yes, in the monasteries with men, they have the service every morning and every evening. And that is a lot of wine by itself, and it is still one of the revenue. They sell wine that you and I can enjoy. I remember it was 2 years ago in July, like the first 2 weeks of July, we had 47 degrees Celsius. It was horrible, like the summer of 2023. It started from mid of June until almost end of August. We had 42 degrees all summer long, and by night time it would go up at 36. That would be it. It was miserable existing up here. And then the next winter, we managed to have -10. You get like, yeah, we have the mountains across. So whatever happens to the mountains, it affects us. Whenever we have snow in the mountains, all the cold comes down here. We don't get a lot of snow. We get a sprinkle of snow usually. This year, we had the most weird thing that happened. 2 days, you couldn't come up to the rocks of Meteora because of the snow. Really? Yes. And the last snow that fell on top of the mountains, it was 1st of May. Crazy. It was a very crazy year. But everybody's happy. We have the ups and downs. And we're very happy for the snow because on top of our mountains, we have a lot of water reservoirs. Most of our fields, they get irrigated by the mountains. So whenever we know we have snow, that means it's going to be a very good year for our farmers. Which is good, because here, if you don't do tourism, you do farming and agriculture. Most of the plants we have would be wheat, cotton, and tobacco fields. A lot of tobacco fields, yes.
There are plenty of dining options when you visit Meteora Monasteries, and look at the backdrop of the restaurant where we are. And we're going to indulge ourselves with the traditional Greek food. Greek salad, which has got cucumbers, tomatoes, a bit of bell peppers, and of course feta, and gyros, which is pulled pork, potatoes, a bit of Greek yogurt, bell onions, and tomatoes. We are witnessing Meteora sunset. We are 920 meters above sea level, and people used to climb these cliffs using vinegar to soften up surfaces of the rock. This is absolutely incredible, and it's starting to rain, which is making it much more exciting.
So the last monastery we're going to visit for today, the small monastery of Rossano, or Saint Barbara. Rossano, it was built in the 15th century as an extension to the Great Meteora, because at that time we had so many monks, they didn't have enough space. So very practical reasons. Unfortunately, Rossano, it is one of our monasteries that it was abandoned during the 17th century, when we had the Turkish Ottoman occupation here. And it was really late in time, it was in the 1980s that the archaeological community, they decided to come, restore the monastery and open it again to the public. Actually, during the 1980s, we had this huge movement by the archaeological community that they decided to restore the majority of our monasteries. Since 1989, Rossano is a female monastery. Today we have 13 nuns that they live inside. Most of them, they are older. They are above their 50s. Majority of them, they're in the 60s actually. Most of our nuns, they are orphans. Because we have two nunneries. Both of them, they still run an orphanage. And years back, one of them, it also used to be an orphanage and a school for young girls. Now, the name of the monastery, Rossano or Rossano, it is not a Greek name. It came from the first hermit who lived on the rock. That hermit had a red beard. Rosso in Latin means red. Everybody used to say, let's go to Barbarossa, to the red beards. So we basically have a pirate's name for one of our monasteries. But you know, it's kind of cool. So the church of the monastery, we call it Transfiguration of Christ, like the Great Meteora, because it's an extension of the Great Meteora. We also call the monastery Saint Barbara because we have the hands, the bones of Saint Barbara inside. And Saint Barbara for us in Greece is actually the protector saint of anybody who has a skin condition, but she's also the protector of the artillery in the army and the heavy explosives. In Greece, we have a protector saint about everything and anything. We have Saint Christopher, for example. He is the protector of the travelers. Saint Nicholas, he's the protector of our navy. My favorite saint, Saint Phanurios. Saint Phaneronome in Greek, it means I reveal myself. Saint Phanurios, he's the saint of the lost things. So if you lose something, you don't only make a prayer to Saint Phanurios, you have to bake him a pie. So you lose something, you make the prayer. If you find out something, you make him a specific kind of pie. We call it a phanuropita, 13 different ingredients. So it's a win-win situation after a point, because you find what you lost and you eat also. Or we have in Greece, we have this huge church of Virgin Mary. It is in the island of Tinos. She is the protector of the women that they cannot get pregnant. So what you do, you make a prayer to the specific church in Tinos, in the island of Tinos, to Virgin Mary. If you become pregnant and you have a healthy pregnancy, after you give birth, there is a carpet from the port all the way up to the church. You have to crawl all the carpet to say thank you to Virgin Mary. But what we also do here, when you have a family member that they are sick, they cannot go to the monastery or anything like that, either you bring something of them, like a small bracelet or a necklace they might have, and you bring it to the monastery. Either they sell these small metallic plates that they have body parts on top. So if you have a family member that they have a broken leg, for example, you will have a small amulet with a leg. You bring it to the monastery, and the nuns or the monks, they will pray on that so they get well soon. Now, to enter the monastery of Rossano, you will take some stairs you will see to your left. You will have to cross 2 bridges to get inside. So I really hope you're doing well with heights. And you should feel very lucky. Both of the bridges nowadays are very sturdy cement bridges. Until the 1990s, there were suspension bridges. You will move like this to get inside. Yes. Of course, our nuns, they don't take the stairs. On the back side of the monastery, they have an elevator. In the main church, you will find the original paintings from the 15th century. At the entrance of the monastery, where you will pay the tickets, the paintings, they are new. It was 3 years ago. We have a local painter that he specializes on what we call iconography in the Byzantine arts, all the religious paintings you saw inside the monasteries, and he actually decided to paint an icon as a thank you to the doctors and the nurses during COVID time. So at the entrance of the monastery, if you see an icon with people wearing white, those are the doctors and the nurses. Every year we have expert painters that they come and put a coat of varnish on top of the paintings to preserve them, basically. Because in Meteora they made a law in 1989 that says that Meteora must stay unchangeable through times. Meaning, we are not allowed to build new monasteries, we are not allowed to expand the ones we already have, we are not allowed to touch the original paintings of the monasteries. We are allowed to paint new paintings as long as they didn't exist before, like on top of the old ones. Yes, if it's a part of the monastery that never had paintings, it is okay to do new paintings. The old ones, we're only allowed to preserve and maintain. And tourism is something very new for us, guys. Like the first company that opened to do the tour like you do today, it was 13 years ago. It was 2013. It is very recent. Before that, we did have people that they would visit, but mostly for religion purposes. They will come Easter time or Christmas time for the churches, for the monasteries. And now we have like 2 million visitors every year.
Meteora is one of those places where natural and cultural elements come together in perfect harmony to create a natural work of art on a monumental yet human scale. I hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for watching Foreign Influence. I'm Melina Reddy. Bye for now.